Hello everyone, welcome back to our Java multithreading series. I hope you are all doing awesome. Today we are diving into the world of locks. We have already got the basics down, but now it's time to explore some more advanced locking mechanism. First, we'll start with ReentrantLock. Now you might be wondering, what is Reentrant? Well, think of it like this. Imagine you have a house with a key. The key is used to open the main door of your house. You can use the same key to open the doors of the rooms inside the house as well, without needing to unlock or relock the front door every time. That is the main essence of reentrancy. Let's bring this home with a real life example. Think of your house as a critical section, and each room inside it represents a nested critical section. Reentrant lock allows you to lock, unlock those nested rooms without leaving the house. That means with the same key you can lock or unlock any room without leaving the house. Now let us see this in code because it will be more clear with a coding example. We will create a reentrant lock, use it to lock and unlock the nested sections of our code, and demonstrate how it handles reentrancy. Let's break down the implementation and execution steps. In the outer critical section, first the running thread will acquire the lock, then it will start the execution of critical section. In that process, it will print inside the outer critical section and perform some other operations also. After that, there is a nested critical section inside the outer one, and a separate lock will be acquired to execute that nested critical section while keeping the lock for outer section. Then after acquiring the lock for nested section, the thread will start the execution, and in that it will print inside the nested critical section, and it can also perform some other operations. Now once the execution of nested section is also complete, first the lock of nested section will be released using resource.unlock. And that we are doing in the finally block, because suppose in case any exception occurs, then there will be an issue, the lock will never be released. That is why we are using try and finally block, so that in case any issue occurred, in that scenario also the lock will be released for other threads to execute. After coming out of the nested section, the lock for outer section is also released in the finally block. This demonstrates reentrant behavior where the lock can be acquired multiple times by the same thread without causing any deadlock. I hope now we should be feeling comfortable with reentrant lock. If you are still having some doubt, please let me know in the comment section. Now let's move on to read-write locks. Imagine you have a library. During the day, people are reading from that library books, but at night, the librarian might need to update the catalog, or writers are updating their books. A read-write lock is like having a special key for readers and a different special key for writers. Think of library as your shared resource. Readers can happily read simultaneously. That means multiple reader threads can acquire that lock simultaneously. But when a writer wants to make a change, it ensures the exclusive access. So what exactly is exclusive access? The exclusive access means that only one thread can have permission to modify the shared resource at a time. This ensures that when a thread is making changes to the resource, no other threads are allowed to read or write it concurrently. It helps prevent data corruption or inconsistency that could occur if multiple threads were allowed to modify and read the resources simultaneously. Now let's jump right into the code. We will create a read-write lock, show how readers and writers interact with it, and illustrate the power of efficient concurrency. Now let's break down the implementation execution steps for this code. First, in the reading operation, any thread which is requesting a read lock will be able to get it because any number of reader threads are allowed. After that, it will print reading from the shared resource and perform some read related operations. In the end, once all the read related operations are complete, then the read lock will be released. Now coming to the writing operation, which is exclusive in nature. In this, if one thread acquired the write lock, then no other thread will be able to acquire the write or even read lock on that particular resource until that writing thread has completed its operation and released that write lock. So in this, first write lock is obtained and then it will print writing to the shared resource, then it can perform some write related operations, and in the end the write lock is released. So during that time, if any other thread requests for any read or write lock, they have to wait until the write lock is released. So this is how the ReadWriteLock works. A real world use case for ReadWriteLock is the scenario where you have a shared data that is read frequently but updated very less frequently or infrequently. ReadWriteLock provides a way to improve concurrency by allowing multiple threads to read simultaneously while ensuring that the write operations are exclusive. That means it can have any number of readers at a particular time, but whenever a write operation is happening, it will lock the resource for all other threads. Consider a scenario where application uses a connection pool to manage database connections. Multiple threads may need to read the data from database using shared connection, and occasionally one thread might need to update or modify the data. That requires exclusive write lock. I hope this part is also clear. If not, please let me know in the comment section. Now let us go to the last implementation of lock that we are going to discuss in this video, which is stamped locks. Stamped locks are like having a futuristic lock with a stamp on it. It allows for more flexible reading and writing, providing an optimistic read and exclusive writes. Let's try to understand this with a real life example. Imagine you are going through an airport security. The initial security check that happened at the airport is optimistic. That assumes that everything is okay. You do not have anything to worry about until something proven otherwise. But if there is an issue, then you have to go through an exclusive detailed check separately. In other words, we can say that everything is assumed to be fine until there is some issue identified. The purpose of optimistic read in stamped lock is to allow non-blocking access to the shared resources, but it requires additional step to check if the read is still valid after performing some operation. Let us translate this into code. In that way, it will be more clear. We will create a stamped lock, perform optimistic reads and exclusive writes. Now to save some time, I have already created this stamped lock demo. Now let us break down its implementation. A stamped lock named resource is initialized in the beginning. Then an optimistic read is attempted and the returned stamp is stored in the variable of type long. In this try optimistic read method call will return a stamp that can be validated later to see if the read lock is still valid or not. The value returned from try optimistic read can be 0 if already there is an exclusive lock present. After that, it will print a message indicating optimistic read and perform some read related operations. Then it will check if optimistic read is still valid using resource.validate and passing that particular stamp which was received earlier. So if it is still valid, then it will print a message that the optimistic read is still valid. That means no other thread has acquired any exclusive write lock yet. If not valid, then the optimistic read lock is upgraded to the standard read lock. This validate call returns true if the lock has not been exclusively acquired since the issuance of the given stamp, the stamp which we are passing while calling the validate method. Then comes the exclusive write operation. In this, it will acquire an exclusive write lock and print a message indicating that exclusive write is obtained. After that, it will perform some write operations and And in the end, in the finally block, it will release the write lock using resource.unlockWrite by passing the write step. Now this is how stamped lock work. A common real use case of stamped lock is that in scenarios where you have shared data structure that is read frequently but updated very less frequently, stamped lock provide a way to efficiently support multiple readers and exclusive writers with low contention. Let us consider a caching system where multiple threads can read the data from cache, and occasionally one thread needs to update or refresh the cache. In such a scenario, you want to maximize the concurrency for read operations while ensuring that the write operations are exclusive. So after seeing this explanation, you might be thinking, then what is the difference between ReadWriteLock and StampedLock? Like when to use which implementation? You can use ReadWriteLock when you have a high volume of read operations and want to maximize the concurrency of reads. Also, when simple read or write semantics are sufficient, you don't need any optimistic locking. On the other hand, you can use stamped lock when you are more flexible in lock mode conversions, such as upgrading an optimistic read to the normal standard read lock that we just have seen in our previous example. Also, when reentrant locking is not a requirement and you want to minimize the contention with write locks, then you can make use of stamped lock. And there you have it, folks. Reentrant, ReadWrite and Stamped Locks, the heart of Java multithreading synchronization. I hope this journey through locks was exciting for you as it was for me. As always, if you have any questions or want to share your thoughts, hit me up in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share and ring the bell for more fantastic Java related videos. Until next time, happy coding.